What up, what up, what up, everybody, man? Welcome back. Welcome back. Keeping Weight Off podcast with your boy, Cornell Broussard, a.k.a. Big C, a.k.a. BJ Sabone. Man, remember, y'all can follow me on Twitter at CB4 underscore uncommon or on Instagram, DJ Sabone, run that back. Today, man, you know, got a special guest, man, another special guest, somebody who's I recently reached out to, and man, as a man, sometimes you got to put your pride to the side, and just one session with him, has helped me tremendously, and I needed him to just share some of that advice with y'all, especially the people who's on this journey. So without further ado, man, we're gonna jump into episode 6. You are stronger than you think, featuring special guest, licensed professional counselor, and motivational speaker, Mr. Brandon Williams.
Hello, hello.
What up, B?
Oh man, I'm excited to be with you, man. I'm
Yeah, man.
humbled by the invite. I appreciate it.
Oh man, it's most definitely, man. I just trying to share. I like to share to other people who are on the journey, man. Some of the things I'm learning because it's helpful. You know,
Absolutely.
those things are truly, truly, truly tremendous and helpful in your life. And if you can share it instead of just holding that information, that's how we make the world a better place. So,
Absolutely.
man, you know, without further ado, I usually start off by just having the guests just give a little background about themselves. Just give them a little background.
Perfect, man. Well, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, over on the West Bank. Spent most of my life doing that, man. I went to school a little ways away in Lafayette. Finished
Shout out to the flats.
Yeah, man. It's like a second home to me. So after leaving New Orleans, graduating from Jesuit High School in New Orleans, um, went to Lafayette, finished my undergrad in psychology there, and that's like a second home to me. We were catching up about the flats, man, and
Yeah,
and,
man.
and all of that, man. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and so I hold that strong. But then I moved from Lafayette and went up and finished my master's degree out in Regent University in Virginia Beach, Virginia,
Okay.
where kind of got that career started off. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I wear a lot of hats. I teach. I'm a adjunct professor over at Sewella, and I teach psychology, and I own a private practice, Williams Counseling and Consulting. And so I do a number of things. I'm a master trainer as well for mental health first aid. And so it's kind of like a community program where we talk about destigmatizing this talk, just like you're doing, my brother, about mental illness and how it affects the body, how it affects the mind. And so I go around teaching, and this is a part of my mission altogether, right? I'm also one of the associate pastors and youth pastors over at Mount Olive Baptist Church. And so that's a joy of mine too, man, ministry and keeping God
Yeah.
first in the head of
Have
all
to.
that I do, man. But I think, I'm a mixed bag, man, when you talk about just where I was raised, how I was raised. I'm not one of those, I'm not one of them cats. I try to keep it real wherever I go, man. I feel
Yeah.
like that's what God has blessed me at, is being able to bring a realness to the world of academia, as well as psychology, ministry, all of those things, man. We keep it 100, and that's where growth and healing is, Doc. So that's a good bit about me, man.
Most definitely, man. And it's great that you said that, man. It's good to wear many hats sometimes. And it seems like you bring that energy, that same energy that each hat you wear. So that's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome. So my first question, mental illness, like dealing with mental health, stress,
Mm-hmm.
depression, anxiety, all that, you know, I'm not ashamed to say it. Me and you had a talk, and I just found out I have anxiety. Like I do catch anxiety because I didn't understand what it is. I just thought it was panic attacks and things of that nature. But you broke it down for me. But how do you see that relating to, people letting go of their body, the drastic weight gain? How do how do you see that affecting people with without without them when they don't know, they
Yeah,
struggling with some of these mental disorders?
absolutely. Well, I think it comes back to a base principle that I think your mind, your body, and your spirit are all connected,
Yep.
right? And so and when we say it's connected, it's like a system, right? You can't have one part of the system well and the other parts unwell, right?
Yeah.
And so if any part goes unwell, right? If your mind is struggling in an area, it's going to cause the spirit to wane and eventually cause the body to wane, and vice versa in all those different areas. So I think when you ask about the mental health aspect and its impact on the body, it follows that same system that oftentimes we don't realize how much the body is almost secretly coping with some of the things that our minds have gone through, whether it be trauma
Trauma.
related
Yeah.
or we were talking a little bit about grief and loss, and
Yeah.
we can dive into that. But trauma is probably the biggest thing that impacts the body because especially when we talk about gaining weight, because trauma, you gotta think about it. The body tends to have the mind tends to um, almost trick the body in resolving its response to trauma. And I try not to get too complicated. You see me stumbling over my words, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to get too complicated. But the mind has a way of three different responses: fight, flight, or freeze, right? And so when the body responds to those risks that it may be afraid. And this is oftentimes when I talk about fear, man, this is something that a lot of us don't want to admit. There are a lot of things that freak us out,
For
that shake
real.
us, that we don't like to admit, especially as Black men, right? But I even include my women in there, right? We've got some strong, powerful Black
We
women.
do.
You
We
know,
really do.
I'm raised by a single mom that, if you let her tell it, there ain't nothing that stop her, right? But I've even noticed it in all of the people around me that we all have some level of fear. And what happens is our bodies to that fear look for comfort, right? It goes back to a time where you don't even remember, right? When we talk about attachment, there have been studies scientists have done that go all the way back to infant attachment,
Yeah.
right? That when an infant feels afraid, before they want food, before they want all of those things, they want comfort, right? And so
Yeah.
what happens is in that pursuit for comfort, when you're dealing with fear, eventually when you can't get it from those you love, maybe a parent or a mom or dad for many of us, and through the years, especially as you get older, right? You can't be a grown man curl up under mama, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
so,
You already know they're
and
gonna they're
so
gonna have they're gonna have no scrubs playing every time they see you. That'll be your background music.
absolutely. And so oftentimes, what do we turn to for comfort? Drugs, sex, and food, right? And those tend to be the pillars, especially for men, right?
Oh
Where
man.
we go to for comfort, we go to for that ego resolution that helps us feel good, man. And the honest truth is that if we get off kilter with how much we go to those things, they start to cause problems, man. And here's the thing: we never realize that the body reacts to it definitely by putting bad food in it, but it almost sends a tricky signal out to the body because it tells the body this is exactly what I need,
Yep.
right? It tells the
Yep.
body, man, all I needed was that cheeseburger, bruh. All I needed was another thing of candy, bruh. I needed a little sugar. I need a little bit of extra sugar in my sweet tea, bruh.
Need that good
And
old
so,
Whopper, double Whopper with
absolutely,
cheese. Like
absolutely, right?
ah.
It becomes the only thing, and the body tricks you, or the mind is tricking the body into not regulating itself the way it needs to. It's looking for those comforts. And so what happens over the years of that slow integration and learning between the body and the mind, the body says, okay, if that's what we need, let's keep craving it. Let's keep getting it. Let's keep wanting it without realizing we're hurting ourselves, man. And so we create this dependency. And like I said, I add in everything, man, because for some, it is food, but for some, I mean, you throw any of those comforts in there, and they all exist within the same sort of cooperation within the brain with the signals that it sends off, the hormones, the chemicals that it sends off in the brain, and we're talking about the physical brain here, right?
Yeah.
Not even the mental health of the brain. The brain receives the same level of calm. There have been a lot of studies, the same calming chemicals from food as it gets from cocaine.
Wow.
And as it gets from sex.
Well,
right?
I'm gonna be polite on here because I can understand. I can definitely understand that coming.
Yeah, man. It's dopamine. Dopamine is the receptor, and it's the thing. They've been many scientists, psychologists for years have studied dopamine receptors in mice. And there have been times where mice will pursue whatever it is that gives them that dopamine ease or that shot of dopamine, even at the cost of their own lives. Their minds don't learn to regulate it after a while. And listen, we as people are very similar, right? We'll pursue it for that reward sensory within the brain, right? That sense of comfort, that sense of ease, even at the detriment of our bodies, at the detriment of our minds, and even at the detriment of our spirits, man.
Man, that's deep, man, because you don't think about all that, man. You just think about, man, like I had a stressful day, or I'm just feeling down. Like, it's a rough season for me, and you just get to going back, like you said, you get to go back in them old ways where you're comfortable at. It's kind of sounds like a comfort zone. That ease place is a comfort zone. And you just, tearing it up. Just eating everything, canes, fried chicken, Popeye, you just tearing it out the frame. So that's great to get it from a mental aspect, because we don't think about that while we going through that. We just be like, bro, this gonna make me feel happy.
Absolutely. Right. And then that becomes, because then you ask, how do you overcome that? Right? What's then the journey to overcoming that? And oftentimes, listen, I compare it, and there's no disrespect to my veterans or those that struggle with PTSD, because it is a serious illness. But oftentimes, you can compare the weight loss journey to that of a soldier overcoming the trauma from war.
Wow.
Right? Because you're talking about reassigning neurons. You're talking about reassigning structures and connections within the brain system to think differently, to see differently. So your body says, if I don't get this cheeseburger, I'm going to be okay. If I don't get this candy, if I don't get this extra bit of sugar today, if I don't get these extra carbs, don't freak out. I'm all right. And isn't that what the soldier has to go through coming back from war, right? Yeah. He has to be able to say, hey, when I hear that can drop in Walmart, when I hear, a car backfire, I have to slowly reintegrate my mind into not going back to a place of trauma. Right? But being able to go back to a place where he says, I'm okay, right? He's able to orient himself to the reality that he's okay. And that starts at a cognitive place that is oftentimes so much more important than necessarily the routine of putting something in your mouth or not. And so it's about slowly reorienting. You have to literally rebuild the connections of your mind. And so sometimes folks will say, well, it's uncomfortable. Discomfort is the only way the body learns to grow.
For real. And then with you even saying that, it's just like the army, the army veteran, he's used to a certain routine. He's used to his commanders, people in charge of him giving him orders, doing this, that, and the third. When you've been overweight your whole life, you're used to eating. Like I started eating grown man plates, and I wasn't even like hitting puberty yet. So it was just like, you're used to that.
Mm-hmm.
So like you saying, it's a mental thing. You gotta have that mental toughness, that mental strength to allow the change to happen in order to get over the hump. And that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. And having that discipline, and realizing that, listen, so while you're making that journey, people forget that all three of those things are existing in that connection reorientation, right? That while I'm reconnecting, sometimes when you're on the weight loss journey, you only focus on the body, right? And so you say, I just got to eat right. I got to exercise. I just got to do some of these smaller things, right? Some of these bigger things, but I'm just focusing on grinding my body out. But you never realize, listen, over the years, you talk about the reorienting of your spirit too. Your
Man,
spirit has made food, the carbs, the comfort of food. Listen, we're talking about spiritually, food becomes a god.
whew, a lot of people not ready for that talk, man.
Yeah, man.
A lot, a,
Hey.
a lot of people not ready for that talk, and that's why I was just like, bro, this is keeping weight off, and we trying to live a better, healthier lifestyle, because health is the new wealth. So we need to have this talk, and that's why I was just like, I got to get B on there so we can have this talk, because I know
Well, I
I
try
know he's
not to
gonna take it there.
Yeah, man, I try not to overwhelm it with it, but that's just it. And so it's a spiritual journey, it's a mental journey, and it's a physical journey. And so I tell folks, man, you've got to reorient all of those things, because listen, when you deprive the body of what it's used to, where are you picking up the slack?
Spiritually and mentally.
Spiritually, mentally, are you filling your body up with good stuff other places, right? Oftentimes folks feel good. This is the piece of why oftentimes we talk about the routine, and the routine of going to church, right? Church oftentimes works for those folks who've been living a negative lifestyle, because oftentimes it gives them a rush of feel good
Mm.
that's reorienting the brain to a different feel good than it's used to. So the brain now realizes, okay, that, the drug or the sex or the food isn't the only thing that can cause this dopamine response in me. You mean I can have this time with the Father? You mean I can sing in front of church, or I can, be working in church, or working with the kids, or working with someone, or anything, right? And we don't have to just keep that in the realm of church. If you're not spiritual, that's all good, man. Even though I think the spirit is a part of us all, right? So sometimes we separate that conversation between spirituality and religiosity, right?
Yeah.
And so spiritually, though, I think we all have that part, but it could be anything that you feel that you have to replace. When you deprive one piece of that triangle, you've got to make sure you're filling your cup up in some other positive areas, right? Oftentimes we talk about the importance of going back to school, man. Some people, especially when you get old, you forget how good it feels to get an A on a test.
Man, who you telling?
You forget how, and listen, see that look on your face? That was a dopamine response.
Oh, well, okay. Wow.
Right? See, your brain got so happy there that it said, man, we could keep doing this. I could get addicted to success. I could get addicted to this hard work because, man, when I look in the mirror, hey, right? That's just like the guy coming from the gym. Let you come from the gym one day and a bad girl, right? Bad girl, man. You walking out the gym and she look at you and say, hey, Cornell.
Oh, man.
Right? Hey, you might pass out in the gym the next day.
I might do like the dude. I posted a video, boy. He was on the treadmill and he flew off the treadmill. I might be like him. You know, I can't.
Absolutely right. Because listen, you know, that's a part of that dopamine response. Your body is searching for it. And so oftentimes when you're depriving it in one place, you've got to make sure you're filling up. That's a healthy response, right? That's a healthy response to say, hey, yeah, man, I get a nice young lady on my side, or doing some positive stuff like coaching, helping out young people, whatever your passion is. But you've got to find that passion and dive yourself completely into it so that as you're depriving yourself in one area, you are refilling yourself in other areas and you're allowing God to do it too, man.
That's awesome. So when you you just said dive yourself into like your career. So, I'm diving myself into coaching, but what happens when it consumes me to the point to where I forget about me? I forget about me, and it's just like I'm worried about, the coach, and I'm worried about the kids, and I forget about self. I forget about what, self-care. And, like, how do you address that?
Yeah. Well, I think a piece of it says at some point, if what was your passion initially became something you got lost in, that could be a number of things. But I think the most prevalent thing in that is that usually happens when you take your focus off of it being your passion and you start doing it for others. You see what I'm saying? So you start to feel obligated to coach rather than saying, dog, I'm getting out here because this is what I love to do.
Yeah.
You initially went out there saying, this is what I love to do. And then usually what drains that passion is somebody else is telling you, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
And that tends to be the reason why most people fall off because, hey, now you're not in the gym. Now you're not working with young people because you want to, but you're working with people because you're working with young people now because you feel like you have to. And the passion begins to drain, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got to reorient yourself to saying, hey, how do I regain that sense of doing what I have been set out for? And a lot of that becomes about reestablishing your purpose, right? So many people start journeys without a purpose, right? The enemy's always going to throw things your way to get you off kilter. But if you can know your purpose and you understand why God has put you on that mission, that there's nothing that can get you off of that. Even if the worst, say you're an assistant coach and your head coach is, he ain't right in the head. He fussing, he cussing, he doing all that stuff. Man, if every day you say, it ain't about him. It ain't about him. See, people, you'll even have people get mad at you eventually because they'll say, man, don't nothing bother Cornell, man. Because he's self-motivated. He's self-driven to do him. His passion is these kids, and whether he's upset, whether I'm fussing at him or whether or not one thing's gone his way or not, he's driven by something so much more than just other people's happiness.
Yeah.
Right.
And see that's definitely something I need to work on because, sometimes I put other people's happiness before my own personal happiness. And that's what I'm starting to realize that, that you could be selfish in that way. because the
Yes.
most important person, if you're not right, you're not going to be able to help the right way, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that is like important that you said that because, especially with the weight loss journey, like, if you're not taking that time to meal prep, if you're not taking that time to, you know, just work out, it
Mhm.
don't have to be an hour, 2 hours. It could be a hit workout for 30 minutes and you'll still get the same burn. But if you're not taking that time
Yeah.
for you, because it's something that you need.
Yeah.
It's not something that, whether you coach or whatever profession you're in, it's not something your job need. It's something for self. If
That's
you're
right.
not taking care of that, man, you start to fall off. And then that's when you start to get that lazy spirit back on you and you don't want to do nothing. You get comfortable not doing it. And then when it's time to get back into doing it, it's just like you start complaining and be like, bro, this rougher than the first time. And
Right.
oh, I don't want to do this. So I definitely, I definitely understand what you're saying with that, man.
And one of the things I hear from you, man, that connects it back to our original conversation about the mental health piece. So much of that response, Cornelia, we were really diving into it, but can we go deeper, man? I need your permission. We can go
Well,
deeper,
you
right?
know, you already told me about, the power of going deeper. So I've been going deeper
Okay,
with self.
okay,
And
okay.
by doing this, I'm putting myself out there,
Yeah,
whether people think whatever about it, I'm doing it for the help of others to let them know that, bro, this shit is not easy.
absolutely,
It's not
absolutely.
easy at all.
So when I say deeper, and we keep it general, man, but I think I'm appreciative of you being vulnerable and open with that because here's the thing that I realized: so much of what you just said connects you back to your past. For most people, that response when they are let down, they can track back to when they were initially hurt,
Yeah.
when they initially started to feel experience trauma, when they initially started to kind of go there, and oftentimes it's that letdown, it's that loss of drive, it's that people return to. Many people have similar behaviors, right? I can probably track that behavior when you get down on yourself about coaching all the way back to, hey, Cornell, let's go back a little ways when you can remember life changing for you, Doc. Do you remember responding to life back then in the same way? And for
That's
most people, it's a yes, right?
and
And so,
that have to be when my dad died. Like that's and you know, to be honest, you the first person I came to actually get help with that. I resorted to smoking weed in high school and doing all that stuff instead of actually getting the proper help like my mama suggested. And I was just like, nah, this is taking care of it. But like you said, everything that goes on in life when you're growing up and you becoming a man with no father figure and no male guidance, every time you take that L, you result back to the
yeah,
big L you took with losing, your role model, losing somebody that was Superman to you.
come on,
So
come
I
on.
definitely, that would be it. That's it for me.
And
I know
so,
that's it for me.
so here's the breakthrough. And here's what I found for myself, right? And I'm putting this out there, and I always say, man, I'm not perfect by any means, man. And I am still, like Michelle Obama said, we are all still becoming. You know what I'm saying? So
Facts.
we look at this journey, man. Your exposure is similar to mine, and it's probably similar to half, more than half of men in general. I know for sure, but especially I believe Black men, right, and talking about this, Black women as well, so women of color in general. But I think this is the place that when we talk about overcoming this, right, because that's the biggest piece. How do I overcome this? We have to learn that sometimes therapy gets this bad rep, that gets this myth that a therapist is going to sit you down in the chair, talk about the past, and make you go down memory lane. No, what happens in therapy that makes it so beneficial is that, and you don't have to necessarily use the therapist for it, but oftentimes it's hard to know how to do it yourself. So we all need that cheerleader to kind of just push us along the way. I sometimes feel like that's all I am, man. It's just that, I'm that brother in your corner to say, hey, bro, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
The same way I may need you one day, Cornell, to say, hey, bro, I'm getting down today, man. I'm defeated. I feel like I can't do this thing. Man, help me out, man. And you say, hey, B, get on your game, right?
Yeah.
But here's the most powerful thing that I found is that, Cornell, for most people that are struggling in those stuck times, we have to learn to champion the child within. We have to learn to champion that hurt us, right? You've got to learn to have this self-talk that says it's not just about, most cognitive behavioralists, that it's more popular science these days, right? Just change the way you think and it'll change the way you feel. I don't know about that, right? Because there have been many times where I feel some type of way and changing the way I think ain't working, right? I can tell you could be sitting at a buffet and I say, just think about salad. Just think about salad. And if you just think about salads, you're going to be all right. Yeah, that just doesn't quite work.
And the lie detector says that is a lie.
Right. But what happens is, if I know my trends, what has to happen is there has to be a journey every day that you begin to focus on that little guy that was hurt when you lost your dad. That little guy, for that girl out there that maybe it was sexual abuse, or maybe it was the loss of a parent, or maybe the molestation of a parent, or who knows what's happened to all of us, man. We've all got those stories. For me, growing up without a father, right? Having that part of my journey where I go back to say, man, this aloneness that I feel, it's about the inner me that I have to be able to go in and say, you know what, Brandon, that hurt, but I'm here now. And one of the things that we don't realize or do is that we begin to look for things to champion that vulnerable us without realizing, Cornell, in you, God has created a king, bro. He's created a king that little Cornell isn't aware of his kingliness. And so you create this almost mythical relationship with your childhood self that says, bro, I got you. We not the same little boy as when dad first left, bro.
Yeah.
We don't have to respond to distress in the same way. You think going without that cheeseburger gonna kill you? Let's see. And the big, the Cornell that's sitting here right now today, he gonna say, let's get it. I ain't gonna die. Whereas the child in you, when you feel vulnerable, when that hunger comes on, when that piece of you feels sacrificed, he's saying, man, man, but I just a little taste. All I need is it. He a fiend, right? He's filled with this pleasure, this need for comfort, this need for a pleasure response that we all have to learn to say, we don't need that.
Facts.
Right? We don't need that. There's something else that can give us that, right? And oftentimes it's a marriage between understanding that it combines faith in the Father, right? The Father, faith in the self. God, you feel me? Yeah. He's made you a conqueror already. And so really leaning on that in those times and challenging your inner self to say, you know what, bro? And also giving your inner self a chance to don't just beat him up. Let him feel. The only way you grew to be you is by letting that inner you or letting you kind of grow through some tough stuff. So that inner you may need to cry. And you may not even, the big you may not even know why you crying.
Yeah, man.
You
I've been
feel
there
me?
before.
And it may feel so strange, right? That on
Yeah.
this journey, you could be sitting down and you're like, man, I just feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed with fear, and things are really good though, right? I think I really can't pick out something wrong, but I just feel overwhelmed. And usually that's why I tell a lot of folks, feel that, man. Feel that and explore it, because oftentimes it's something in you that's got to get that out.
Damn,
So,
most definitely.
yeah,
That's
man.
deep. So, what would be some advice you would give, you know, I don't know if you had to go through a personal journey with weight loss or whatnot, but what would be some advice you would give to someone that's, you know, not knowing they're dealing with that and, you know, you were able to see it, like, you know, in me?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a person, like, you know, to start to battle that, you know,
Yeah.
overcoming that problem?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a part of it's just what we just talked about, tackling that inner you, right? Giving a voice to that child in you that may be longing for freedom, that may be longing for a greater stance. But here's the other more practical piece, and I do this every morning. I wake up every morning at 7:30, and I work out. But I don't tell myself that I'm working out. What I tell myself that I'm doing is spending time in praise and worship. Right? So when I get up and grind, I put on gospel music, right? And when I'm doing, I start a little yoga, but I'm praying the whole time. And then I start picking it up and I start grinding a little bit, getting a little cardio in, throw on the headphones, get outside. But the whole time I've told myself I'm in praise and worship. Right? And some may say, well, you're just tricking yourself, right? But for me, I'm a person that when I look back at that child in me, listen, football all my life, basketball all my life, sports, and this is without a father figure at home. So I've always been real hard on myself. Get up, grind. You know, I got a big brother who I love to death, but he is a hard worker, Doc. Right.
Yeah.
And so from playing AAU when I was little, man, 6, 7 years old, hey, straighten your feet up, tuck that elbow in, grind, you know, push through the pain, push through. I realized that child in me around the college age when I stopped wanting to play football, even though I was pretty good at it. I don't like that. Right? And if I could be vulnerable with that, right? That I had to be honest with myself. I don't like people yelling at me, bro. I don't like people yelling at me to push the better out of me, right? But I realized that's how I started pushing myself. And what I would do in response for being hard on myself was eventually shut down to it. You see that? And so, and that was only by making the connection that's the way the child in me responds to distress. Bro, you're going to keep fussing at me and doing all that, bro, you can have it. I don't want to do it no more. And I would do that with life. And so since being married, having kids, it's taught me, you know, and I think, you know, I give that knowledge back to the Father, that he's taught me how to persevere, but he's also taught me that my spirit just needs a different way of beckoning the best out of me. And for many people, you've got to find a different way to push yourself. We've learned to push ourselves through negativity. But many of us have been through so much negative crap, bro, that in order to move into a new season, you might have to start being nice to yourself, bro.
For real.
You feel me? You might have to start saying, you know what, Cornell? You look good, bro.
I know that's what it is for me. You know,
yeah.
I mean, no homo. I start walking around the house naked now. Like, you know, I'm comfortable with my skin now. Because it's like, you know, hey, bro, you know, before I would always just wear clothes and, don't want to show my, man, like I'm working on my body.
Come on.
You gotta love yourself,
That's
love
it.
on yourself.
That's it.
So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. And so that would be my advice, right? And so I tell myself, man, the way I like to be motivated, man, is by grace and mercy. I've got to learn to have grace with myself. I've got to learn that, hey, if I get up in the morning and I make an effort and I don't get through a workout the way I'm used to getting through that workout, it's okay.
Yeah. And you
It's
see
always
that, yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's always tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
okay. There's nobody standing over me. And here's the other thing. So not only am I giving room to learning and to loving myself differently and in a nicer way, but I also have to remind myself that God doesn't treat me that way. So for many people spiritually, we walk around feeling like God has this whip over our lives, that when he wants us to do something better, or we're not being good enough by our standards, we're letting him down and not good enough. And we have to begin to reorient our minds to realizing that, no, sir, right? The Bible teaches us that, God loves us unconditionally. He loves us enough to send his child without you even being here yet. He knew you was going to be ratchet. He knew you was going to be, you know what I mean?
But in the keg jigging, like he knew you was going to be in the keg and nightcaps jigging.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
He already knew the plaza was going to exist. You feel me?
Oh, Miami Moon, man. Simcoe Strip, baby.
He already knew, you feel me? But he loved you enough to still make the sacrifice.
Most definitely.
And when I get to a place that, and like I said, I try not to take it spiritually, but this is an important part of rewriting the script for myself, right?
Yeah.
Is to realize that it's not my works that gain me salvation and love from Christ. His love has already bought that. And so I'm inspired to work because he's already done it. Not because I have to do it in order to get it. You feel me? And so when I switch that equation for myself, it does something to the psyche. It begins to rewire those mental and cognitive connections in a way that helps me reorient my spirit, reorient my body and my mind and my spirit in a way that, man, I get up and I'm encouraged to want to work out. I'm encouraged to want to eat right. I'm encouraged, even like right now, I'm in a fasting period, right? I'm encouraged to fast and to pray. Why? Because he gave his life for me, bro. He did something that, bro, the greatest of a friend. If I gave you a pair of J's today, some exclusive J's today, Cornell, you probably had me on a podcast for the rest of the year, dog. You feel me? And so to know the level of sacrifice really helps me realize, bro, I don't have to beat my way through this. And oftentimes as African Americans, that's where our minds go. We've got to beat our way to success.
Facts.
And we've got to reorient that. We've got to be able to say, hey, Cornell, lose weight if you want to, Doc.
Yeah.
Lose weight because you are worthy of it already. Work out because, hey, it's fun to do and because you want to do it. Same thing, connecting the conversations. Go back to coaching. Coach, Doc, with a passion because you want to do it.
Yeah.
It don't have nothing to do with the people you work with or how bad these kids are, just joking about that. But, but that becomes the passion where you're reorienting and resetting those cognitive neurons, just like the soldier from war, right?
Yeah.
Got to reconnect with his passions. And when he does that over and over again in the smallest of changes, he begins to reorient his ability to see the world in a different place and gain, listen, the same dopamine response in a much more healthier way.
Most definitely. So dopamine, ladies and gentlemen, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, man.
And, just for my coworkers that's probably gonna watch this, I love y'all. It has nothing to do with y'all.
Oh,
It's
no, no, no.
it's dealing with self. Just want especially my gym crew. I love y'all. Shout out to Sean, Lee, and Fruja. Y'all family. But my last thing I want to talk about, because I titled this, "You're stronger than you think you are," because of everything we talked about in the beginning, and then what we just talked about, but more so the power of the tongue and being able to speak things, speak life into things, speak things into existence. And on this weight loss journey, that is definitely something that you have to do. You have to speak life into this situation, and you have to speak success on that journey into existence.
Absolutely.
So if you could touch on that a little bit, and kind of explain to people how powerful that is, from a mental aspect and a spiritual aspect, and how it comes into fruition physically.
Yeah. Well, isn't that exactly what we've been talking about?
Yeah.
Being a champion to that inner you means that oftentimes to that child in you means that you've got to stand up for them. And you can't stand up for nobody talking crap. You got to stand up for them speaking positivity, letting them know that they're strong, that they are worthy, all of those things, right? So all of that becomes a part of speaking positivity. And when we talk about speaking life, listen, you're speaking life into the old you so that the old you doesn't inhibit the current you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so oftentimes we don't realize that, and this becomes, I think, a adjunct issue especially with many people who've been going to church their whole lives, right? You've been hearing folks say this all the time, speaking into existence, if you just believe it, you'll see it. If you just believe it, see it. After a while, you realize, bro, that there's only so much truth to that. Before I realized that this thing takes work, it takes discipline, it takes being principled, it takes being driven in addition to being positive. You feel me? And so all of those things come back to reorienting your spirit to a place where you are more positive. You are speaking life into yourself, spiritually, mentally, and physically, right? Being able to set realistic goals is a big part of that as well, right? Being able to say, hey, am I being realistic with myself, right? We talk about speaking it, right? If I was to say in one generation, man, my kids, my mom was a single mom. In my generation, I plan on becoming a millionaire. Shake it, claim it, and, whatever they say, And then I get upset with God and myself.
When it don't happen.
When it don't happen.
Yeah.
You've got to be realistic with yourself. And so oftentimes being able to set realistic goals, positive, realistic goals, and embrace your truth, even in the small successes, becomes very, very important, right? That positivity we talk about having with your that inner child in you, right? That person that, little Cornell that just wants to hear from a father, from a male figure, hey, I'm proud of you, man. I love what you're doing. Right? It's those things that, one, we've got to learn to say to ourselves. But listen, here's the other piece that I think is also peculiar with many folks, that I find a trend. Most people invalidate themselves because they're the only ones saying it. But we create trends oftentimes for most people who've been hurt, like yourself, like myself, where we close ourselves off from being vulnerable to other people. And so if we close ourselves off from sharing our story and opening up about our pain, who else gets to reaffirm and speak positivity over us?
Message.
You see what I'm saying? And so then we become a self-fulfilling prophecy of loneliness. And listen, that's exactly where the enemy wants us.
Yep.
He
Lonely.
wants you by yourself, lonely, trying to work this thing out by yourself. No, get a team. Find people who love you. Find people who want to encourage you. And listen, y'all love on each other and encourage each other every day. Challenge each other to send a message of love, send a message of positivity. And listen, we can act like we want, man. That goes a long way, even amongst brothers, right? This pandemic has been something that has shaken a lot of us, man. I never knew. I do this little call on Facebook, but it's called Black Men Matter, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I never knew how powerful it was going to be for other Black men just to get around other Black men and say, you know what, you are a good dad. You know what, you're a powerful coach, Cornell. You know what, I see what you're doing out here. Even if we don't talk about nothing,
Yeah.
just to be able to get those words of affirmation from your team, from people you know and trust, listen, it goes a long way.
And I know, and not to cut you off, but I know for me, that's
Yeah.
one of, I finally realized that's one of my love languages. Words of affirmation.
Yes,
because,
sir.
you know, that's what my dad was. It's like,
Come on.
even after he beat me for doing something dumb, like I'm talking about, you know, skinning you, like,
Right. He
he
built
not
you up.
just gonna send you off crying and you know, go cry in the car. He
Mhm.
actually would take you in, explain why you got your ass whipped, and
Mhm.
then, you know, he'll love on you and just like, don't do it again, you know, make wise decisions or come and talk to him. So, you know, the words of affirmation is something that, you know, I realized that's a love language of mine because of that relationship with my dad. It wasn't just oh, I'm just beating you just because I see you,
Yeah.
some type of thing like that. You know, he always gave positivity to me. And, you know, when you don't get that from other people, and I know that's something I struggle with also, I look for it in other people that, you know, they judge you on that because you're looking for that. You know, that's a big thing to you.
Yeah,
So
that's
they
hard.
judge you on that.
Absolutely.
Like,
No, it's tough to find people, you know, and that's why I said people you trust, right? It's tough to sometimes find genuine people, but
yeah.
I believe that we all got them,
Oh yeah.
right? And even though we've been conditioned to push people away, we've got to get back to a place where we allow our community back in.
Yeah.
Most people, even though you could talk about maybe 10 or 12 people you don't trust, most people can probably go back through the line and say, nah, I had 2 or 3 that I really could. But
Oh
I
yeah.
kind of pushed them away because of my experience with the 12,
Yeah.
right? Because of my experience with Judas, I pushed away.
Peter
Judas
and
said, I had to go into the garden myself. You feel me?
yeah.
So, because I couldn't trust. I didn't know, you know, so that's the thing that I think is important too. And that's why I think like this podcast, getting into counseling, getting into there, oftentimes it's those things that can start the vulnerability opening up process
Yeah.
that then allows new grace to come in, new healing to come in, right? And you begin to connect those pieces to where you realize it's more than just your body that gets a weight off, man. To keep the weight off, you've got to take care of your spirit. To keep the weight off, you've got to take care of your mind. And to keep the weight off, listen, the body might be the smallest part of it.
Man, that's why I had to get him on here, yo. That's how powerful this is. Like, you know, this is somebody that studies this is his line of profession. Like, and it's so true. Like, it's so true. Because you gotta have that mental toughness, that mental capacity to say when the body is tired is you can go that extra. You can go that extra day. Even if it's something light, you can still go that extra day. So, you know, spiritually is realizing everything that God has blessed you with and that you are still here for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is definitely awesome, bro. Man, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing, you know, all
My,
that advice, man.
my honor, man. My honor, man. And we give God the glory at the end of the day.
Amen. You know, he get the glory in my story, you know, that he put that on my heart to do this. Also with the sports podcast, you know, we coming out with an episode tomorrow. Shout out to
Oh,
Jermaine
I see
Martin
you got
Fleet.
the right hat on, man.
Oh
So
yeah, you know, shout out to them pals, you know, hey, we did our thing, man. Zai is up there, man. You know, they talk about you gotta lose that weight. Hey man, you got it, bro. You know,
come
you
on.
gotta don't worry about what the media's saying. It's up there. You know, we're gonna make the playoffs. May not win, but we're gonna make it.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, we won last night though.
Yeah, man.
Won last night,
Yeah.
first game. Look, we in there.
Shout out to BI. BI so shy, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
nice with it. So man, I'm gonna end it like this. Just say something positive, you know, for with everything going on, the COVID-19, you know, it's something the world never seen before in this day and age. You know, with everything going on with Black Lives Matter, the, you know, times we living in with, you know, just how open people are with racism.
Yeah.
And then at the end, give them your social media handles and how to get, you know, to your website for, you know, the counseling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I think one of the things that's kind of coming to my mind with all that we've talked about, man, and I pull it back to um, a spiritual to a spiritual place, man, where I realize, listen, in this season, God sometimes is saying He may not open up the Red Sea for you the way He did in last season. But it doesn't mean in order to get to the promised land, you're not going to have to fight. But it doesn't mean that he's not with you. And it doesn't mean that you don't have the same power you had to come out of Egypt, right? To see yourself in wanting this differentness for yourself, wanting this different lifestyle for yourself, wanting to overcome all the stuff that the world is throwing at us now. Listen, we are all at a season where we've got to fight, right? And realize that in that fight, listen, your mind, your body, your spirit have all got to be on page with one another. And don't be afraid of being vulnerable, that God loves you at your weakest. Because when you are weak, He is
He's strong.
strong,
Yeah.
right? And listen, so there are times where you're going to feel weak. There are times where you're going to get down on yourself, but lean on Him. Don't give up. Listen, for all of my people everywhere that, black, brown, women, we're all fighting for this degree of justice. He's got it under control. He's got it under control. What He's looking for us to do is to stay focused and to stay positive with ourselves and to stay mission minded, right? He set us on this mission. Cornell, He set you on this mission, my brother. He set everyone on a mission to achieve a certain wellness that He's assigned for us to be able to be our best. We've just got to stick to the plan. And we've got to know and trust not only in Him, but that He exists in us. So if we trust in Him, we've got to trust in ourselves. And if we trust in ourselves, we'll learn to give love and trust one another and create this holisticness around us that reverberates throughout our society. Black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, COVID-19, coronavirus, Dallas fans, Saints fans, it don't matter, man.
Lord,
Hey,
Lord.
love is gonna reverberate through it all,
I don't
man.
know if I could love no Dallas or no
Hey,
Saints, man.
you
That's pretty
can,
tough,
man.
yeah.
You can. You never know, man. What we're talking about, hey, you might have the little Cornell might be a Dallas fan in the inside,
Oh
man.
no,
You
he
know?
definitely not no Dallas fan, and he definitely ain't no Saints fan. He definitely not no Saints fan. Oh,
I know.
that's one thing.
I know it. He's got to be a Saints fan, man.
Oh
But
no,
that is
no.
it, man. And so it's setting your mind and focusing to what you believe in, right? Seeing that God has made you the best, being your best you, and going and getting it, right? I've got a phrase that takes over my mind. See you, be you, go get you. Most people
Write
struggle.
that down.
Most people struggle because you don't know you. You don't realize that God has created the most magnificent you you're going to be already. He's just waiting for you to walk into it. He's
Yeah,
waiting
man.
for you to really, really feel that thing and walk into your fullness. And he's made something uniquely just for me, uniquely just for Cornell. You ain't got to compete with it. Everybody on social media and looking for they copying off each other. Be you. And if you be you in your weight loss journey, you be you at work, you be you in how you raise your kids, and how you are as a father, and how you are as a brother, how you are as a mother or a sister, God is going to bless that, bro. And I believe that. And so keep your head up. Everybody, man. See you, be you. Don't be afraid to go get you, bro. You
Straight
feel
like
me?
that.
Yes, man. Follow
Straight
me,
like that.
man. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Williams Counseling and Consulting. Reach out if we need some help, man. Or if you just want to talk, Doc, right? Low cost. It's designed to support our community, man. And I'm stepping out on faith and starting my own business and doing some things, man. Support your boy, Doc.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
also on Instagram at the West Bank Kid. Reach out, follow me, man. Always some good positive stuff going on there that I try to post. Keeping connected with brothers like yourself, man. Love you,
Most
Doc.
definitely, brother. Most definitely. Well, B, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing some light on, the mental aspect and digging deep into it. As I spoke the first episode, we talked about, it's more mental than physical, but you were actually able to teach us the strength that you have mentally to get over the hump, dealing with not only weight loss but anything in life.
Yes, sir.
So, man, I definitely appreciate, and I appreciate you coming on, and I know it's gonna help some people, man.
Come on.
I know it's definitely gonna help some people, man. But I once again appreciate you, brother, man. Until next time, man.
Thank you, baby.
We out.
Yes, sir.